There comes a moment in every life when the illusions begin to collapse. You realize that comfort has not made you stronger, it has only made you softer. That chasing pleasure has not brought peace. It has only chained you to endless craving, and that waiting for life to be easy is the surest way to die unprepared. The Stoics knew this long before us. They carved their wisdom into the marrow of reality. You cannot become unbreakable by avoiding pain. You cannot become free by escaping hardship. You cannot master the mind by hiding from life. Marcus Aurelius whispered to himself in the quiet of dawn, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Think about that for a moment. The very obstacle you fear is the very doorway you need. The pain you avoid is the exact teacher you require. The weight you refuse to carry is the very weight that would have built your strength. We live in an age addicted to ease. Every discomfort is numbed, every silence is filled, every hardship is avoided. And because of that, people are fragile. They collapse under the weight of rejection. They shatter at the first sign of failure. They drown in the smallest storm. But you, if you are here, it is because you are different. You are ready to hear what most cannot bear. You are ready for the brutal Stoic laws that will rewire your mind, not for comfort, but for power. Not for pleasure, but for freedom. Not to make life easier, but to make you unbreakable. And the first law begins here. Do not run from discomfort. Embrace it as your oldest ally. For it is only in the fire that steel is forged, and it is only in the shadows that you will learn how to find your light. Now let us step into the first law and discover why the very suffering you curse is the birthplace of your strength. Discomfort is not a curse. It is a compass. It points directly to where your growth hides, to the very place you've been too afraid to enter. Epictetus, who was born into slavery and endured endless pain, said, "Difficulties show a person who they really are." Notice the depth of those words. Without trial, you don't know yourself. Without discomfort, you have no mirror for your soul. Look at the modern world. Every invention cries out, avoid pain, avoid effort, avoid waiting. Food delivered in minutes, entertainment on demand, attention spans reduced to fragments. And yet, depression rises, anxiety spreads, minds grow weaker. Why? Because strength is not built in ease, it is built in friction. Think of the body. Muscles do not grow without resistance. Bones do not harden without pressure. The mind is no different. It too must be stretched, tested, and broken open, or it remains fragile. The Stoics did not worship suffering. They respected it. They walked into it willingly, knowing that voluntary hardship sharpens the soul. Cold baths in winter, simple meals when feasts were available, long nights of study instead of indulgence. Seneca wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest of fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself all the while, 'Is this the condition I feared?'" This was not poverty, it was power. Because once you learn to embrace discomfort, fear loses its grip. What can the world take from you if you are already willing to suffer? What can life deny you if you have learned to thrive in hardship? Here lies the first Stoic law. Run toward discomfort. Make it your teacher, your fire, your sharpening stone. Do this, and you will discover a strength you never imagined was yours. Do this, and no storm will find you unprepared. But this is only the beginning, because the next law cuts even deeper. It will ask you to look at the storm within, to confront the chaos of your own emotions, and to learn the art of ruling them instead of being ruled. Are you ready to face the second law? What destroys most people is not the outside world, it is the storm within. A single word of insult can ignite rage. A fleeting fear can paralyze action. A passing sadness can paint life as meaningless. Emotions rise like waves, sudden, powerful, overwhelming. and most people drown because they never learned to swim in their own waters. The Stoics saw the truth clearly. Emotions are not your enemies, but if you become their slave, they will devour you. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Notice the brilliance. The event itself is neutral. It is your interpretation, your emotional reaction, that turns it into suffering. Imagine anger. Someone wrongs you. The emotion surges. Most people become the anger. They lash out. They destroy. They regret. But the Stoic pauses. They step back and ask, what is this emotion trying to show me? And will acting on it serve me or enslave me? This is not suppression. Suppression is weakness, burying emotion alive, only for it to return stronger. This is mastery. The ability to hold emotion, to examine it, to choose response over reaction. Think of a rider and a horse. The horse is wild, strong, untamed, your emotions. The rider is your reason. Without the rider, the horse runs wild, crashing into chaos. But without the horse, the rider goes nowhere. Power comes not in killing the horse, but in guiding it. Seneca wrote, "He suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary." How much of your pain is not the event itself, but the storm you create around it? The second Stoic law is this: rule your emotions, or they will rule you. See them, feel them, respect them, but never kneel to them. For the mind that can hold anger without being consumed, fear without being paralyzed, and sorrow without being broken, is a mind that nothing in this world can shake. And once you master this inner storm, you are ready for the third law, a law that will strike at one of humanity's most stubborn illusions, the belief that life should always be fair. Are you ready to face that brutal truth? One of the deepest roots of bitterness in the human heart is the quiet belief that life should be fair. We imagine that if we are kind, kindness will return. If we work hard, success must follow. If we love, love should be guaranteed in return. But reality does not bend to these illusions, and the Stoics shattered them with a brutal truth. Life is not fair. It never promised to be. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Do not hope that events will turn out the way you want. Welcome events in whichever way they happen. This is the path to peace." Fairness is a human construct. The universe does not measure your effort and deliver matching rewards. The rain falls on the farmer and the thief alike. The fire warms the just and the unjust equally. And death comes for every soul, no matter how pure or wicked. To expect fairness is to demand that reality obey your personal sense of justice. But reality does not kneel to your demands. Here lies the secret. When you release the illusion of fairness, you also release endless disappointment. Think of it. When you stop expecting the world to be fair, betrayal no longer shocks you. Failure no longer breaks you. Loss no longer poisons you with bitterness. Instead, you see clearly, life is not fair, but it is real. And in its raw reality, you find freedom. Seneca said, "Expecting the world to treat you fairly because you are a good person is like expecting a bull not to charge because you are a vegetarian." Brutal, but liberating. The third Stoic law is this: do not expect fairness. Do not demand life bend to your morality. Do not cling to the illusion of cosmic justice. Instead, become strong enough to thrive in an unfair world. And in doing so, you will no longer be broken by disappointment. Now, having released the illusion of fairness, you are ready for the fourth law, a law that divides life into two realms and demands you focus only on the one that truly belongs to you. Are you ready to discover what is within your control and what was never yours? The human mind wastes oceans of energy trying to bend the world into submission. We try to control people's opinions. We try to control outcomes. We try to control the future itself. And with every attempt, we grow more anxious because life never fully obeys. Epictetus gave us the clearest division of all. Some things are in our control and some are not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion. In a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, property, reputation, command. In a word, whatever are not our own actions. This is the foundation of Stoic freedom. Draw the line, guard it fiercely, and never cross it in ignorance. Think of a storm at sea. The sailor cannot calm the waves. He cannot silence the thunder. He cannot stop the lightning. But he can set his sails. He can steer his ship. He can command his response. That is all that belongs to him. The modern world teaches the opposite. It tells you that happiness lies in controlling outcomes, in manipulating others, in guaranteeing success, and so you chase endlessly what was never yours, and wonder why peace never comes. The Stoic way is brutal but clear. Release what is not yours. Master what is. Your thoughts, your choices, your discipline, your actions. That is your kingdom. That is your fortress. That is where freedom hides. The fourth Stoic law is this: control the inner, release the outer. Do this, and anxiety begins to dissolve. Do this, and disappointment loses its bite. Do this, and no storm can capsize you. But the Stoics did not stop there. They went further. They did not only embrace what life gave, they trained themselves to face even worse on purpose, so that fear itself would lose its power. Prepare for the fifth law, a law of voluntary hardship, the art of practicing struggle before it arrives. Most people live in fear of what might happen, fear of losing wealth, fear of hunger, fear of discomfort, fear of being stripped of all they cling to. But the Stoics practiced a strange and powerful ritual. They chose hardship willingly, so that when hardship chose them, they would not collapse. Seneca gave the exercise: set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest of fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself all the while, "Is this the condition I feared?" Do you see the wisdom? By living in poverty for a few days, the fear of poverty vanishes. By eating only bread and water, the terror of hunger dissolves. By sleeping on the floor, the mind learns that luxury is not necessity. Voluntary hardship is not about suffering needlessly. It is about breaking the chains of fear. Because fear is the true prison. Not poverty, not hunger, not discomfort. Once you know you can endure the worst, you are no longer owned by the fear of it. And once fear no longer owns you, you become unbreakable. Think of a soldier. He trains in mud, in cold, in exhaustion, so that when the battlefield comes, he is ready. The Stoic does the same, training not the body alone, but the soul. The fifth Stoic law is this: do not wait for life to test you. Test yourself first. Practice loss, and you will not be broken by loss. Practice discomfort, and you will not be owned by it. Practice hardship, and when fate strikes, you will already be stronger than the blow. This law frees you from the grip of what if, because when you have already faced the worst, there is nothing left to fear. Now that you have tasted the fire of voluntary hardship, prepare for the sixth law, a law that cuts the chain of obsession with results and teaches you to give everything to the act itself, not to the outcome. Most suffering comes not from action itself, but from the weight we attach to its result. You study and suffer because the grade was not what you hoped. You love and suffer because the return was not equal. You work and suffer because the reward was smaller than the effort. But the Stoics revealed a liberating secret. You do not control outcomes. You control only your actions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." The farmer may plant with care, but he cannot command the rain. The sailor may set his sails, but he cannot dictate the wind. The warrior may fight with valor, but he cannot guarantee victory. So why shackle your peace to what was never yours? Detach. Detach not by abandoning effort, but by surrendering your demand for results. This is not laziness. This is liberation. For when you release obsession with outcomes, you become free to act with purity. You study for wisdom, not the grade. You love for the act of love, not its return. You work for excellence, not the applause. The sixth Stoic law is this: give everything to the action itself, and leave the rest to fate. Epictetus said, "Seek not that events should happen as you but will them to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly." Detach from results, and you cannot be broken. For whether success or failure comes, your peace remains untouched. Now prepare yourself for the seventh law, the one truth that humbles kings and beggars alike, the whisper that follows every living being from birth. Remember, you must die. From the moment you were born, one shadow has walked beside you, step by step. It does not hurry, it does not rest, it does not forget. That shadow is death. Most people live as if it will never touch them. They bury the thought beneath distractions. They numb themselves with noise. They hide from the truth that every day lived is one day less remaining. But the Stoics refused to look away. They kept death in clear sight, not to despair, but to awaken. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Memento mori. Remember, you must die." It is not a curse. It is clarity. For when you remember death, trivial worries lose their grip. The opinion of others dissolves. Petty fears become weightless, and what remains is only what matters: to live, to love, to act. Think of it. If you were told this week was your last, what arguments would you abandon? What grudges would you release? What words of love would you finally speak? Why wait for death to force the lesson? Live as if it has already whispered the reminder into your ear. The seventh Stoic law is this: carry death with you, not as a burden, but as a guide. Let it remind you that time is the rarest of possessions, and that wasting it is the greatest poverty. For those who live with death in mind, life becomes brighter, moments become sacred, and courage flows naturally. And once you hold this truth close, you are ready for the eighth and final law, the law that crowns all the others and reveals the true aim of the Stoic path. To live not for approval, but for virtue. From birth, the world trains you to seek one thing above all else: approval. As a child, you crave it from parents. As a student, from teachers. As an adult, from society. And now, in the modern age, every glance at a glowing screen feeds the hunger for likes, for followers, for applause. But the Stoics saw this endless pursuit for what it truly is: a cage. For if your worth depends on the opinion of others, you will forever be their prisoner. They will clap, and you will feel strong. They will frown, and you will collapse. And in the end, you will have lived not your life, but a performance written by others. Marcus Aurelius warned, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." The Stoic path offers a harder road. Live not for approval, but for virtue. Virtue, courage, wisdom, justice, discipline, is the only currency that does not lose value. Applause fades, status vanishes, fortune slips through fingers, but a life built on virtue stands even when the world collapses. To live for virtue means this: do what is right, even if no one praises you. Speak the truth, even if voices mock you. Walk with integrity, even if the crowd abandons you. For the judgment of others is smoke, but the judgment of your own soul is eternal. The eighth Stoic law is this: seek not to be admired, but to be aligned. Aligned with truth, aligned with reason, aligned with virtue. And when you live this way, you need no applause, no recognition, no validation. For your strength is rooted within, and nothing outside can take it away. Now you have walked through all 8 laws, and the time has come to gather them together, to see the unbreakable mind they create, and to understand what it truly means to be free. You have now walked through all 8 Stoic laws. Not gentle suggestions, not soft comforts, but brutal truths that demand your soul to awaken. 1. Embrace discomfort as your ally. 2. Rule your emotions, or they will rule you. 3. Stop expecting life to be fair. 4. Control only what is yours to control. 5. Practice hardship before hardship arrives. 6. Detach from outcomes and devote yourself to action. 7. Remember death and let it guide your life. 8. Live not for approval, but for virtue. Together, these laws are a forge. They burn away weakness. They strip illusions from your mind. They hammer discipline into your bones. And in their fire, something new is born, an unbreakable spirit. The world will not grow easier. Storms will not cease. Loss will not vanish. But you will rise differently now. Where others crumble, you will stand. Where others panic, you will breathe. Where others cling, you will release. And where others die without ever living, you will live fully, fiercely, unshaken. This is the gift of Stoicism, not a life without pain, but a mind that transforms pain into power, not a life without death, but a soul that uses death as fuel for life, not a life of applause, but a life of virtue, steady and eternal. So ask yourself now, will you drift like the many, fragile and lost? Or will you take these laws into your marrow and walk as one who cannot be broken? The choice is yours. It always has been. And once chosen, it will echo in every thought, every action, every heartbeat, until your last breath. Remember this path, live it, and become what you were always meant to be, unbreakable.